Hey guys, how you doing? Hey, in this video, I'm going to outline a pathway to owning a home here in California. Now, before we get started with that, let's cover a couple administrative items. First of all, guys, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, love the opportunity to connect with you. Look around the screen somewhere, my number's somewhere here. Love to talk with you. Number two, if you're somebody who stays updated with the real estate market, again, look around the screen. Our subscribe button's there. Subscribe to our channel, and also down below, comment. Love to hear from you. Let us know how we're doing. Also, let us know if you have any questions. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about the pathway to owning a home. We're going to outline a path to owning a home. Now, the first step, and I may be biased with this, is I'll tell you, it's connecting with a realtor. Realtor's going to help you find your lender and so forth, get you started in the process, get you down the street to really kind of figuring out what's right for you. Now, finding a realtor, a bunch of different ways you can do it. Referrals from friends, open houses online, and so forth, But some things you really want to look for is, number one, experience. You want a realtor who's reasonably experienced in the area that you're buying in, so they're going to understand neighborhoods and so forth. They don't necessarily have to be an expert in any particular neighborhood, but they should be knowledgeable of the cities in your area, so they understand neighborhoods and so forth. What's going to be the right fit for you? What are schools like in that area and so forth? What's the commute like in that area? And so those are the kinds of things you're thinking about. So that's where experience comes in. Also, there are different ordinances and laws that apply to real estate that vary from city to city. So that's going to come into play when buying a home. And you've got to have a realtor that understands those different laws and rules and so forth, or knows how to where to find them and has a basic understanding how to adjust to that particular rule in that city. Also, full-time realtors. A lot of times, you see somebody who's doing real estate part-time, they've got another job and this is their part-time gig to make extra money. This is going to be one of the most important things in your life. You don't necessarily want somebody who's doing it part-time to be the person guiding you through the process. And finally, somebody who's putting your needs and your success first, okay? It's not necessarily about the commission they're going to make. It's about how they support you. So guys, number one, finding that realtor. Now let's take what's number two here is determining your buying capacity, the amount of home that you can actually buy. Some rule of thumbs that I always tell people: if it's a conforming loan, meaning it's under about $766,000, you want to have about 7% down payment. So that's going to give you at least 3.5% for down payment, at least 3% for closing costs, and 1 to 0.5% for moving. If it's going over that, up to about $1,150,000, we want to look probably about 9% for down payment. Or 9% in cash. That's going to give you 5% for down payment, 3% for closing costs, and 1% for move-in. We'll need a little bit more money if we start talking about purchases above that. The other thing is that's down payment. We want to talk about how much you're going to qualify for in a loan, and that becomes an important part of your capacity for buying. And that's where you've got to connect with a lender. Lender's going to sit down with you and figure out what's the right loan product for you and how much you're going to qualify for, and just give you a defined number so that you can go out and be confident with what you're buying. The other thing a good lender is going to do is upfront address any problems, help you walk through the process, put together all your paperwork. So once we get into a transaction, there's no work being done. We're confident that this loan is going to get through. So again, number one, finding a realtor. Number two, determining your capacity for buying. Finally, number three, we're going to look at really kind of zoning in on a location, or zeroing in on the location for your home. We got to think about a couple of things. Is this within your buying capacity? Some neighborhoods are more expensive, some neighborhoods are more affordable. Also, does it meet your particular family needs? Schools. We got to think about services in the area. We got to think about commute. We got to think about the features of the home and things. Those are some things that are going to come into play when when looking at zoning in on that area, okay, or zeroing in on that area that you want to buy. One of the things I always suggest to people, and again, everybody varies. Sometimes you've lived in a city for a long time, and you know that's where you want to be. You know that you're not going anywhere else, and so it makes it real easy to search in that city and so forth. And now you're just zeroing in on your particular neighborhood and things. Now, one of the things here in the East Bay, I always suggest to people to really cast a wide net, looking at many different areas, seeing what you can afford, see what you like, see what the commute is like in different areas, what are the schools like, and so forth, and then look at it zero in. Your search, obviously you can search on the internet and stuff, but I gotta tell you, one of the best ways to really search is to connect with your realtor. Ensure that your realtor is sending you out information. They can send you out property alerts with emails that just highlight homes as soon as they come on the market that are going to fit your needs. So you're sitting at your desk and getting those emails versus spending your time scouring the internet to try to find a particular home. They're just being sent to you via email. So that's probably one of the best ways to look. Once you've cast that wide net, then you want to really kind of start focusing in on the neighborhood. I've seen so many times examples of people will come, say, move from the city and so forth. They focus in on one city, and then we realize there's so much value in another city and so forth. And they go, "Oh wow, never knew this," and we're able to kind of focus in on that area. Once we've got a neighborhood narrowed down or so forth in a city, we can even start doing things like looking at things that aren't even on the market quite yet and so forth. So those are the kinds of things that a realtor can do for you when really trying to find that place. Things that are not necessarily on the market, especially if we've honed in on a particular neighborhood and so forth. The next step, in the process is really reviewing those disclosures and reports. Now, in many cases, the disclosures and reports, you're not necessarily going to get those until after you're in transaction. But these days, we're getting them early. We're getting them out there early as possible because we know if our buyers start to looking at disclosures early, we can make early decisions. We can make more accurate decisions, and it reduces negotiations and the chances of a transaction falling apart and so forth once the home's been taken off the market. So, next step in the process is really looking at those reports and disclosures. Now, some of the reports or disclosures are pretty standard stuff. Your water heater's got to be double strapped. It's got to have smoke detectors. Those are really things that are not going to tell you a whole lot about the condition of the home. It's just rules and regulations of the state and the area. What's really going to tell you is transfer disclosure statement, the seller property questionnaire. These are disclosures where the sellers go through and answer specific questions. Also, the inspection reports. That's going to be very critical. Now, some of the inspection reports are 30, 40, 50 pages. Really, a quick workaround is to go through them with your realtor. Again, we go back to this experienced realtor. An experienced realtor is going to know where to look. They're going to be able to hone in on what's most important in that inspection report, and they're going to be able to guide you where to look. So you're not reading all the boilerplate information and so forth. You're going and really focusing in on what's important and what the condition of that home is. Another thing that pops up quite a bit, and this is going to be hundreds of pages of documents, is homeowner association documents. If you're buying in a place that has a homeowners association, that's again where an experienced realtor is going to really help you out. And that's the disclosures and reports. Finally, or not finally, but the next step is really submitting your offer. Now, some important things to remember is you're going to make a fair offer. I always tell people, do not fall in love with a home until we're closing on that home, because that's going to lead you to potentially overpay for your home and potentially taking on too much risk when buying your home. We want to submit a fair price for the home. We're looking at that fair price by looking at comps. Now you got to remember that comps could be 6 months old. So homes like yours, something that's 6 months old, it could have been a very different market back then, and we can actually get the home for something different at this point in time. So some numbers I really like to look at is, what are the active listings? What are the price? The active listings that are yours, like yours, what are they selling for? If you find that the home you're about to purchase and you're paying more for is more than the active listing, you're overpaying for that home. So we got to pay attention to that, okay? Pending transactions. Pending mean that they just successfully received an offer. Now, we don't know what that offer is, but we know what the list price is. And so it gives us an idea what that home is probably really worth in the current market. Okay, so we're looking at them, and that's how we get most current information. Days on market really comes into play. If we look 6 months ago and homes were selling in, 12, 13 days, and now they're selling at 30, it really tells you the market's slowing, there's less demand, and prices are probably coming down a little bit. One of the things that I spoke about is taking on risk, contingencies. We get in these markets where it's super active. Remember, it's the price you offer. A lot of times it's market driven. The year is cyclical, and it just really what the price is how active the market is at that time of the year. So a lot of times people or other buyers are removing contingencies and so forth, and these contingencies are your protection. You're removing those things and you're taking on more risk. For instance, if you remove your appraisal contingency, this really means that whatever that home appraises for, you're buying it, and you're obligated to come up with the cash for that and so forth. So we've got to these contingencies offer you as the buyer protection. So we don't necessarily want to remove those just to make us more competitive. The other thing is a good realtor is going to be contacting the selling agent and figuring out exactly what they want, exactly what that buyer is looking for. So when you structure your offer, you know it's meeting the needs, and it's going to be an attractive offer for that seller. Once we go into contract, we want to actually look at managing the escrow process. Now, escrow these days running about 21 to 30 days. Now, escrow is that part where you are in contract, and it's that part where you're going through and closing the transaction. You're doing your inspections, you're finalizing your loans and so forth, So we're looking at about 21 to 30 days, just depending on how things go with the escrow. And if we're talking cash transaction, probably average somewhere about 10 days. Cash transactions can be closed in roughly about 7 days, if not quicker than that, so, but probably average about 10 days. Now, once you're in escrow, the first thing you're probably going to do is look at reviewing and accepting your estimated closing statement. This is going to be a closing statement provided by your lender, and it's going to give you a breakdown of all the fees, and the lenders have to pretty much match those fees towards the end and so forth. So this early in the process, you're going to ensure that those fees, you understand them. The next thing in the process you can do is submit your deposit, commonly referred to as your earnest money deposit, EMD, so forth. You're here, and now this deposit's going to be wired from your bank account into escrow, and it's going to sit at the escrow company, and they're going to hold it. So it's not going to the lender and so forth, or going to the seller or anything like that. It's being held in escrow. So if the transaction falls apart and so forth, and you can legally back out of the transaction, you get that deposit back. Standard, it goes up to about 3%. So again, $1 million purchase, you're looking at probably about $30,000 earnest money deposit. That deposit goes towards your closing cost or your down payment. Okay, so it's not just something that goes in there. It goes towards, and it's applied towards your closing costs and down payment. It becomes part of liquid damages. Okay, so if you as the buyer create a situation where you cause damages to the seller, these funds could go towards covering those damage or making it right with that seller. Okay, so something to think about. But again, working with that experienced realtor, you're gonna work with somebody who's gonna know how to protect your deposit and so forth, and make sure you're avoiding any type of situations like that. Probably one of the most critical steps is the next step is having your home inspected. Okay, there are just a variety of ways to inspect your home, a variety of inspections that you can do. But the things to remember, it is your responsibility to get it inspected. It's not the seller. Now, these days, in many cases, sellers are doing the inspection ahead of time. But you also want to make sure that you do your own inspection because you want to validate that buyer's or that seller's inspection. It's great to be present during these inspections because the inspectors will walk you through, show you how things work in the home. They'll tell you how to do things and so forth. They'll have real conversations with you about what things are going to cost approximately, what's important, what's dangerous, what's and give you some real perspective on what you're looking for. There will always be things wrong, things that they're going to find on inspection and so forth. It's just how much they're going to cost and how severe they are, is what we've got to consider. Some really common inspections that we do. And one of the things I also want to highlight is that they're doing the inspections, but you also want to ensure you get an inspection report. This is a written report. There are inspectors that will go through and inspect and they'll just tell you what's going on, but they don't produce a report. So you want to make sure that they're actually producing a report. The other thing I see every now and then, somebody brings in a contractor that comes in and do an inspection. And the advantage to an inspector is they have a systematic approach where they go through and they check every time, each home, systematically, each process. Contractors don't have that process, so they walk through and they just look around and they miss a lot of stuff that they don't see in that one walkthrough, whereas an actual contractor goes through. A lot of times, getting a contractor, they don't have the systematic process. Sometimes their decision about things is driven more so about their opinion based on the quality of the material and on the quality of the work versus an actual need to make some kind of repairs or so forth, And sometimes it's also driven by a need to generate work for themselves. So I always recommend that we look at an inspector. So some inspections, the overall property inspections, they'll cover all systems in the home. They'll walk through, they'll go around the outside. They'll give you a feel for the outside of the home and also the inside. Also, they'll recommend other inspections you can get if they're seeing certain things within the home and things, A lot of times home inspectors will cover roof inspection. That's another system that's really important that you inspect. Chimney is real important because it's something that if you're burning fire in there, things if the chimney's not in great condition, it could be dangerous. Also, it's something that could down the road have some significant expenses and so forth. Great chimney. A home inspector will check the damper and so forth, the firebox, but a great chimney inspector is going to go through, look up the flue and so forth, maybe run cameras down there, look for cracks and so forth, gaps and things, and also going to clean or sweep the chimney for you. So real big need for a chimney inspector. Pest inspections. Pests are real important. And when I say pests, what they're really looking for is dry rot. Dry rot is water sitting on wood, and it's an example of the maintenance of the home. If it needs to be painted, the water will seep through the paint and into the wood, and the wood would become soft. The other thing that they're looking for is termites. So subterranean termites, hardwood termites, beetles, and they're going through and they're poking. And again, systematic approach, checking inch by inch throughout the home, all the wood, just to see if they're able to find any of these things. Okay, real important. Sewer inspections, really important. Some city actually require by law that you do a sewer inspection, but some of the things that we see, again, this is another system of the home that's real important, and if we have problems there, it can create a lot of problems for you within the home. HVAC, another system within the home, and if we're getting all these things inspected, we're really getting a good sense of what the condition of the home is. The final piece is the foundation inspection that I typically don't always recommend. It's just that if we see things within the home that make us think there may be some foundation issues, whether it be cracked in the foundation walls, cracks in the home and so forth that look suspicious, sloping floors, that kind of thing, is an indication that we may have some drainage or foundation issues going on with the home. So that becomes an important piece. Now, the next step is when we actually we've done our inspections. We got to consider, we found some problems with the home and so forth. Are we going to ask them to fix it? Are we going to ask for a credit to fix that? Or are we going to ask for a price reduction? So those are some things we've got to weigh in there and so forth. That's the next step when we're doing our inspections. After that is the appraisal. Now, the appraisal contingencies and so forth, you're going to be required, if you're getting a loan, the lender is going to require that you have an appraisal done. You're normally going to pay for that appraisal. Probably going to have to give a credit card to the lender up front to actually pay for that appraisal and things. Now, once we finish that process, the inspections, the appraisal, the next step we're going to go through is, and it's being worked on the whole time, but the final contingency, or the final step, is finalizing your loans. You're going to get a conditional approval. Probably, you should be done in your inspections within 7 to 10 days. Your appraisal is going to be done probably in about 12 days, and your loan should be ready in about 14, 15 days. You'll have a conditional approval at that point in time. Typically, conditions we're looking for is just things that are going to be fixed throughout escrow and so forth. Every once in a while, an underwriter may be asking for something that you as a buyer have to provide. So those are going to be the conditions, and then we want to kind of push the final approval. Now, once we've gotten that. Conditional approval and things like that, and we're moving forward to close, or we're pushing towards close, one of the things we're going to do is we're now going to get, remember in the beginning, we got that estimated closing statement. We're going to get that estimated closing statement again, and we're going to give the approval that, again, everything on there is accurate and right, and those are the fees we agree with that we were told we were paying in the beginning. Finally, we're going to set up for signing. Now, typically signing, there's a whole lot of flexibility with this. These days we've got mobile notaries. They'll pretty much meet you anywhere and sign with you. Now, what's great about these notaries, back in the days, they were simply notaries, but now they're mortgage notaries. They have been trained on all these documents, so they can tell you what these documents about. It was funny, just the other day I was working with some clients, and I was telling them how amazing these notaries are, because they're sitting with a stack of paper like this, and they'll get through that stack in less than an hour. A good one, and you should see them. They flip the papers out in front of you to have you signing. They're talking about another one. They've got a stack here. You've already signed. They've got one that's coming. While they're talking to you, they're adjusting papers. It's just a system. It's like magic and things, So these notaries are really great, and they'll walk you through the documents and so forth. They're experts on those documents, and you'll sign, and they'll meet you anywhere. We've even done things where we've signed overseas and so forth. Somebody who's traveling overseas and so forth, and they'll go to a local consulate or embassy and sign with a local notary there and things. So we can get it done just anywhere you like. Now, one of the things that'll happen on the notary paperwork is it's going to tell you approximately what the final amount is for your down payment and so forth that you need to send, and they'll give you that exact amount, and we need to wire those funds and things. And finally, now we're going to push to close. Once your funds are in, what's going to happen is the lender will now fund the loan, and it goes into escrow, and it sits in escrow. So your money's in escrow, your deposit that you first put in is in escrow, and the lender's money is now in escrow. And now we're going to close the transaction. Once that transaction is closed, then those money is going to be distributed to the seller of the home. Literally closing. Pretty much all the documents that there can be DocuSign, signed electronically or digitally, but the deed of trust, the counties really need that ink signed, and literally that document's taken from title, that live document that you signed, and it was notarized, driven to the county. The county then records it, notifies the escrow company that they've recorded, and then we'll notify you that the home is closed. So that's kind of all the path, but the easy high-level step to really kind of buying a home. Guys, if you have specific questions and so forth, reach out to us. Also, you can comment below, let us know. Also, if you're buying or selling a home, guys, as I said, love the opportunity to talk with you, love to help you out in that process. And finally, if you're somebody who stays updated in the real estate market, look around the screen. You'll have to subscribe to that and subscribe to our channel. Also, guys, I'm sure there's going to be another video that pops up here and things like that. Take a look. We're talking a lot about the real estate market and so forth. Okay. Hey, take care of yourself. I'll talk to you soon now. Bye-bye.